Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, host of the Business Insurance Zone. On today's show, I'll be interviewing Rick Yeatts, president of Yeatts Performance Group. Rick's personal performance coach and a strategic sales closer. He's going to show us today on our topic today, the power of performance, and Rick's going to offer his coaching manual and his 5 video vignettes for absolutely free on www.brokersalliance.com/personal life coach. Rick's going to introduce us to the most critical issues of sales success. He's going to help us identify the character traits of successful producers. He's going to highlight the process of personal performance, and he's going to include his 6 beliefs that are common to 6-figure producers. And remember, you can watch our show and all our shows on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and the on-demand section of brokersalliance.com. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Steve Savant, Wiz of the Biz, and on this show today is our performance coach, Rick Yeatts. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Man, I'm glad to be here. I am juiced.
We're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial professionals from Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of Arizona's largest fountain. Well, let's just talk about it today. We want to bring you up to speed, but before I do, I want to make sure everybody understands my email address. It's thebiz@brokersalliance.com, and you can call me toll-free 1-800-290-7226, extension 147, for any quotes or questions you have on life insurance, annuities, LTC, disability, and group pension plans. And remember, I don't give tax or legal advice, so always seek counsel with your CPA or attorney, and if you're FINRA licensed, always check in with your compliance officer before moving forward with anything you hear on our show. Well, I'm just going to introduce Rick Yeatts from Yeatts Performance Group, and Rick, I'm going to call you Coach.
Hey, I like that. I've
Rick.
been called that before.
Well, Coach Rick, I got to tell you, I came into this business 30 years ago, and we had fabulous training, product, sales, psychology of the sale, how to read a client, how to make our performance, personal performance, our professional performance, just fantastic. We had tutelage, I would say, right at the top of almost being an MBA course. But today, everybody has somehow, we've deserted it. We've kind of gotten off the basic foundations of training. And our young people don't have what I had when I came. I had excellent coaching, excellent skill sets installed in me, and I had to practice it. Right. Now, when I think about a coach, we're not talking about a Marine Corps drill instructor here, right? We're talking about a coach.
Right.
Talk a little about what's the difference between that and a DI, drill instructor.
Well, the coach pretty much will, invariably want to find out what your strengths are, like anybody else, and they want to find out what you're gifted at, and then they want to tailor make a program to help you perform at your peak level. That's what a coach does. A coach walks into every scenario believing 2 things. Number one, you probably already know what to do. If we could do what we know to do, we would execute profoundly. But we don't know. We don't do that. The fact of the matter is, we know what needs to be done, but a coach assumes that he's not going to counsel you and tell you what you don't know. You know what needs to be done. He's going to help you get to do the things you know to do, but you can't do it on your own. And that's primarily what a coach does.
Well, when I'm thinking I know what to do. Why don't I do it?
Well, the fact we have this thing called the human condition. it's just pandemic, and the reality is we know what to do, but we don't. There's mechanisms in our life very often that causes us to settle way beneath what our potential is. And what a coach does is he brings that X factor to take that settling out and create a potential reality for you that gets you where you want to go.
Well, I love your phrase, the X factor, because the power of performance is built on this factor that nobody seems to be able to define. Now, I've looked at the difference between huge, 250,000 producers to make $250,000 of commission every year. I'm talking serious 6-figure guys.
Exactly.
And I've looked at the comparison to the same people, basic knowledge, skill sets, basic characteristics, seems like pretty good work ethic, but there's such a difference in performance.
Right. Well, one of the good things about being a coach and a trainer, Steve, is I've been able to go all over the world. I've trained in sales arenas of every imaginable opportunity. And the truth of the matter is, one of the things that I've had the privilege of doing that many people don't is I've been able to go in and interview the top of the top. I mean, the best of the best. Everywhere I go, I'd say, can I speak to your top closers, the guys who are really the top 1, 2, 3 people in this organization who consistently hit the ball out of the park and who do what you believe people can do, anybody can do with your product. And I've learned some things over the years that have just formulated into a belief system for me that successful people just do things that other people are not willing to do. And it's consistent throughout industry, these things that they do.
I'm always curious, why does a small minority of people do what they need to do, and the vast majority of our producer group, they're still struggling with basic ideas?
Well, the new science of performance is simply this. We used to think performance is all about the power of the will. Well, if you got enough will, you can do it. If you wanted it bad enough, you can do it. But the truth of the matter is, the new science of performance tells us that really, and I adhere to this, that performance is often about a number of things that you place around your life that creates an arena of success that causes you to do what you know you should be doing and could do, and it allows you to do it. They become the catalyst for that. These 5 or 6 unique, powerful things. Some of that is as simple as just the way they think and believe.
Well, like for example, I'm thinking, do I have to surround myself with a brand new environment to pull this off? And do I have to construct it? Is it going to take time? I do so many things sometimes I think that are counterintuitive to my success.
No, you don't need to do that. The truth of the matter is, wherever you go, there you are. If you change places or change circumstances, it won't change. This is our internal mechanisms. These things that we surround ourselves with primarily are internal. There are some externals. There are some externals, and they really come into play in a downturn economy because cognitive dissonance is one of those things that weighs very heavy on the life.
Now, what does that actually mean?
Cognitive dissonance, the law of cognitive dissonance says that I'm going to act in a manner of my cognitions except when I am faced, cognitions being my beliefs, things I hold to be true, except when I am confronted with something that conflicts with that. Now, a downturn economy has a real tough pounce on a sales arena because they have to not only believe in themselves and their product, they have to believe that they can do it all the time, anytime. And if you don't believe that, it messes with you, because the law of cognitive dissonance says that I'll almost do anything to get away from conflicting thoughts. In fact, the basis for all psychology, almost all therapy, is cognitive dissonance. We hold in two truths at the same time. I can sell, I can produce, I can win, my product is good for anybody, but it's a downturn economy. They don't want to buy. No one's doing this today. So those are conflictions, and those conflictions really, really take a toll on our performance.
I'm wondering, sometimes we talk about it, because I'm not going to say it's not tough in a recession, for sure. But at the same time, I'm wondering how we talk ourselves out of this whole thing. We're giving ourselves alibis, maybe even producer excuses of why we're not really successful.
We give ourselves outs. Let me tell you one of the three things that happens whenever cognitive dissonance has an effect on your sales team, on your salesperson. One of the first things you do in order to relieve the dissonance, because dissonance creates an internal factor of pain for us. It's conflicting. That's why people medicate. That's why people do incredibly dumb things to get rid of this confliction. We'll almost do anything with that. One of the things that we do is we begin to, first of all, redefine our truth. Well, I really believe everybody can use my product, but really the truth is maybe only 40% of the people can use my product. I used to think that I could sell everybody that comes in the door. Maybe I can only sell 60% of the people coming in the door. So we start redefining our truth. That's one of the things we do. Why is that? Because it gives us an out. And we need that out. Why? Because we can't handle the confliction.
I was watching the game the other night. They were doing the Coach Ryan of the New York Jets, who said he totally believes he's going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
No coach ever talks this way. Every time this guy gets in front of a mic, he completely believes it. And even though he's come close now, the last 2 years he's been coach for the Jets, and I mean close, he totally believes this is his year. And he's not saying it as a mantra. He actually believes it. He has a belief in it.
How do you know he believes it? Because everything about him sells that. And see, so there's no confliction in him. He's one-minded, one-purposed, and driven to that reality. You see, when you meet people like that, the question I want to ask myself is, regardless of how far he gets in the season, how far would he have not gotten if he hadn't believed that way? What would have happened if he didn't believe that way? Maybe he's number 3rd in the nation at the end of the season. But maybe without that kind of belief system, he would have been number 10. The question is, what success for me is not determined by what I do, but what I could have done if I had given it my best, and I believed my best, and I trusted in that. That's the reality. That's one of the realities that's very different between people who succeed and accomplish their mission as those who don't.
Now, you have a set of beliefs, 5 basics, a set of beliefs, do you think, or is it about 2 or 3? What do I need to have a belief system? What do I need to believe?
Well, here's the thing. The challenge that many organizations are facing, just being a sales representative or being a manager trying to work with a sales team, is that for many of us today, sales training has become much more about transference of tactics. We're not really training people. What we do is we're really releasing knowledge. Most of the sales trainings that I attend, and I go to a lot of them, just to see what's going on, to touch base, to stay in contact, to learn myself and continue to grow and develop my own life and my own career. The fact of the matter is, what I have is a transference of knowledge. And knowledge is not power, as you know that, Steve. Knowledge in itself does not create. If knowledge were power, we live in the age of knowledge. You know, ever increasing in knowledge. You may have heard that old proverb, ever increasing in knowledge but never able to come to the truth, right? Right. The fact of the matter is that we have that going on, but that's not creating better sales. In fact, our sales percentages in many organizations are dropping year after year after year. Why? Because we think to know what to do is going to create the how to do what we do. Knowing what to do and creating how to do it is two different things. Knowledge is important, but knowledge in itself without the power to execute is not going to get us where we're going to go.
I've noticed that, and I've been in this thing almost 30 years, so I've met some of the top-of-the-line planners that are excellent, analytic. I'd want them to do my estate plan. I'd want them to do my charitable giving, my retirement modeling. But I'm often surprised that these aren't the top producers. They're very analytic. They know the code. They know all the issues of how to install products that'll benefit their clients. But bottom line, they don't have that skill set to take it from A plus, because I honestly think they believe if I just show A plus B equals C, the client's going to buy from me.
You know, a few years ago, Steve, I had the opportunity to go back into sales. I had a son I've traveled internationally for 18 years, got to speak all over the world, work with organizations, absolutely. But I came to a season in my life where I had a son that was very ill, and the doctor says, you need to be close to home. So I went to an organization that I respected, that actually I'm a member of, and I said, I would like to be a salesperson in your organization for a while. I don't know how long I'm going to be in town, but would you let me get on your sales line? I need to brush up and make sure that what I'm training people works. They said, sure, come on in. Well, I went in, but in April of 1999, by the end of the year, I was in the top closers club of that. In the next 2 years, I topped their sales worldwide for 2 years in a row. Now, the way I reached my clients was this was a discretionary offer. It was something that was be a luxury item. People walked in. I met them an hour later. I was going to ask for $20,000 to $100,000. They didn't know me before they got there. I didn't know them. I call this sales. This is not order taking. This is sales.
Well, see, that to me is the significant difference. And we come back, I want to follow up on everything you're talking about, because I think there's a serious distinction, and I don't think we're reading that. When we come back, we're going to be talking more with Rick Yeatts, president of Yeatts Performance Group. I want us to get this because I want us to be successful. Our producers group are worth it. That's why we're having Rick on the show. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Well, I just want to take a moment in between our segments with Rick and talk about a couple of things. One is life insurance financial evaluation. It's our life audit, and we actually do annuity as well. And right now we're seeing tremendous success with this because most of our people that collect the right information, that go back to their clients, we have seen about a 65% rewrite, which is really staggering when you think about it, because there's so much that has changed in the medical field. Product has rearranged. Some carriers have changed in their ratings, so some clients may be comfortable or uncomfortable with the carrier. But what I really want to talk about is your ability to just take a couple pieces of data that we'll send to you absolutely free. All you have to do is call us 1-800-290-7226, extension 147, and say, I'd like to see the complete PowerPoint presentation of our life insurance financial evaluation. That evaluation will help you get in the game and be able to weigh out whether your clients should keep the policies they have or exchange it for the new technology that we have online. Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm with Rick Yeatts, president of Yeatts Performance Group, and that's Coach Rick to you out there in the audience.
Hey, like
Coach.
That.
And remember, when you're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, you can watch our entire shows all over YouTube, Vimeo, LinkedIn, and we're every place you want to be. I mean, www.brokersalliance.com on our website. And remember, you can call us anytime for any of the quotes or questions you have on life insurance, DI, LTC, pension, and everything that we're into on annuities at 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. Or if you just want to write me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com. We're back with Coach Rick again, personal performance coach and strategic sales coach. I'd like to use that too because I think you're that as well. We're talking about this difference, right? Before we hit the break, it's a difference. And I'm trying to say, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do. And you made a big deal about that in the first segment.
Well, as I was saying, I had a privilege of great opportunity to get back into sales. I thought it was just going to be a few months. It actually turned out to be 3 years. My son had a very long illness, and so it was one of those things I wanted to stay close, and it was a great opportunity for me. But one of the huge ahas I got out of that thing was this: the first year I went to the sales banquet. Remember, I ended up the year in the Closers Club starting in April. And while we were at the banquet, I had a guest there with me, and the awards were being given out for top performers, top salesperson. So I reached and grabbed a napkin and started writing on it. My friend said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing my acceptance speech for next year." And they said, "You're doing what?" I said, "I'm writing my acceptance speech for next year." and I did. And a year later, I pulled it out and gave that acceptance speech. But the challenge I faced with this, the thing that absolutely moved my mind, was that there were such incredible talent on that sales arena that didn't perform. In fact, many of them came through that sales arena, and before the end of the year, they were gone. They weren't even no longer with the organization that had tremendous talent, tremendous potential, great minds, engaging people, great skill sets, better than mine. They should have beaten me year after year after year. But the fact of the matter is, there was just certain competencies they didn't have that I worked on and trained on day after day until I became proficient enough at it to beat them out.
Well, I'm thinking about this is the thing that's the distinguishing difference between high-end producers and people who are wanting to become high-end producers. And remember, Rick has a complete coaching manual and 5 video vignettes that he's going to give absolutely free. You can hop out. The address is www.brokersalliance.com/personal life coach. So if you want any of his material, the coaching material or the 5 video vignettes, just hop out www.brokersalliance.com/personal life coach, and Rick will just let you download at will.
Absolutely. Let them have it and enjoy it and get better and make good money and take your company to the level it's never been at.
Now, when you went to this next level, you stayed around because of your son. You went to this company. Did you even know the product line they were selling?
I did. I actually owned the product. That's one of the things I was excited about, was because I owned the product. And the thing that really amazed me was that there was such great talent around me. And then when I left this organization and I started re-entering my real world of traveling, training, and moving, I had now these last couple years to really ignite me, and I took away from that some powerful stuff. And one of the things, like I said earlier, I began to do was when I would go into an organization to train on sales, I would ask them to let me interview their top performers. Could I meet them? Could I interview them? And there were some characteristics that I began to notice that was consistent through all organizations. And I'm not just talking about insurance or wealth management. I'm talking about many organizations that was in their top performers that I didn't see other places. And I can share a few of those with you if you'd like. They're very powerful. First of all, I noticed the willingness of their representatives, these top performers, number one, to take 100% responsibility for their success or not. I mean, these guys never made excuses. They did not look around for them for a reason why this didn't fail. They only looked in the mirror. And I thought that was pretty powerful. They just looked at the mirror and they said, you know what? This guy in the mirror, if anything's going to change, it's going to be about the guy in the mirror. And I think that's profound. One of the things I see today is how lacking that part of character is. The second thing I think was profound, and again, it would be consistent. But I would interview them and I would hear stuff like this. Almost always, these top performers had a plan, Steve. They had a plan. They didn't just go to see what was going to happen. They actually had a plan.
I'm always surprised, how can a planner who offers a plan to a client, a financial plan, not have his own script?
Well, and that's it. I mean,
I don't understand that.
Here's the thing. They have it up here. I knew we were going to do these shows, and I've done a lot of these type shows. I think you're pretty new at this show. I came into your office early this morning, and guess what? I found you getting ready for this hours before our interview time. You're in there doing what you could actually fly this thing off the wing. You've done this kind of thing so many times. You're very good at what you do, but yet you were in there practicing. You were in there getting ready. You were getting there to get your mindset in order.
I did not pay him to say that.
No, you didn't pay me to say that. But it was interesting. Yesterday, I was doing the same thing. Last night, I was preparing for today. I speak all over the world. This is not my first rodeo. But we were training. We were going to do that. And that's one of the things these guys do. Successful people tend to have a plan, and that plan, listen, the word performance means to execute a predetermined set of behaviors because you've already thought about what needs to be done. That's what execution's all about. Our guys know what to do. They can't execute it. And for some reason, for one reason or another today, in this very technological world with all the things we have, all the media opportunities we have, all the marketing tools we have today, we think there's something out there that's going to separate the power of personal life-on-life selling, and it doesn't. Let me tell you something. Whatever your product is today, whatever your service is today, I'm going to tell you something. If it's really going to go anywhere, it's going to be life on life. Watch us see that.
That's a huge disconnect, what you just said, because everybody thinks, well, I got all this down. We got all the marketing, PowerPoints, slideshows. We have all the material. We have great advertisement. We have great marketing campaigns.
Sure.
And it goes nowhere.
Right. Yeah, and some of the best in the world go out the door pretty soon. They're very discouraged, very frustrated because they don't have a plan. One of the other things that they believe in, this is very interesting to me, is that some of the top producers around the world, most of them believe that here's a huge one. They believe there's enough success to go around for everybody. And one of the ways that belief affected their behavior was simply this. They would do stuff like mentor the new guys in the door. They sort of had this philosophy, I'll never be a success till I make a success of other people. Now, there would be exceptions to that rule, but as a majority, I'm dealing with a pretty big picture here, most of them had this idea that there's enough success to go around. It isn't about me, myself, and I. And guess what? If I help people succeed, it just helps me get up. It'll help me.
Sounds kind of selfless.
It sounds, you know what it is? It sounds kind of corny. Right. But the fact of the matter is, corn sells, and guess what? They sold me on the idea that this is really one of their root realities, and I tell you, I could see it in their behavior. They just were team players that way. But here's another thing that was huge about this group, Steve, that I thought was profound. They also saw life as a process, not a destination. Life is not getting somewhere. Amazingly enough, and these high achievers, you know, I made a decision after the second year I was in this sales group that I was just talking about. I wanted to be the top salesperson there. And I was, by a small margin, by the way, but I don't want to talk about that. But I was the top salesperson. But the fact of the matter is there was much more talented guys around me. They should have beaten me, but they didn't. And I don't understand why, except for there's belief systems and things that I surround myself with that allowed me to catalyst when it got tiring, when it got tough, when my back was up on the wall and the economy was down, had its moments. Even through those things, consistently to perform. How does that happen? Well, you know what? One of the things they believe is that life is a process. That you go through this. Life is not about this week or next month or this quarter. It's about a whole year. You just keep processing and you keep growing and developing. That's another one of the things they had in their belief system that I thought was profound. Here, this will amaze you. Maybe it won't. They believe in never stop training. Not being taught, training. I went by a sales director's office the other day. He was one of the best sales trainers I know in life. One of the very best, especially in his industry. And that morning, he rarely takes a sales training session. He actually works through his managers now. But that morning, he was going to teach the whole sales staff. I went by to see him early, had a cup of coffee in my hand, went by, cracked the door open to his office, and I looked up, and there he was in his room writing his training out that he's done 100 times on the board. He was about to deliver to the guys that he wrote. This was his script. He's had to train to these other guys so they can do it. Now he's going to take it over, and you know what? He says, Rick, I said, you doing this again after all these years? He said, I never stopped training. Training to him is doing and teaching, doing and teaching. It's not telling people what needs to be done. It's showing them how to do it. The great failure of human performance in most sales organizations today is not that they haven't taught people what needs to be done. They're not teaching how to do it, how to do the core competencies that allow those great skills to be released and then be impactful.
This is a huge issue. I was looking the other day. This sounds unrelated, but it isn't. I was looking at the statistics on Facebook, and the number one response for EdgeRank, which is how they measure what's popular, is how to. Anything that said how to in front of that EdgeRank was the number one on Facebook response impressions. Now, to me, since social media is so hot right now, if their how to is, you're saying that is the disconnect. We all know what to do. We don't know how to do it.
Exactly. The challenge, and because we value knowledge, we walk out of these training sessions thinking we're ready. Because knowledge is now, I've got the knowledge. Again, knowledge is not power. Knowledge that you can execute is very powerful.
But that sounds so counterintuitive in our culture.
Yeah, it
knowledge
does.
I mean, I thought I took a trip out to the Garden of Eden, I ate the apple, and I thought that'd be the end of it. I'd be all knowledgeable.
Yeah, exactly.
But knowledge isn't the end game.
No. No, it's being able to pull off what you know, and then to be able to download it and to execute it in such a way that has an impact that you're looking for and that you believe is possible. You know, here's the thing, Steve. This in your company and all the companies that are listening today. Here's a question for you: why, if you all have the same product, you all have same many hours in a week that you work. If we all have the same product, we all have the same number of hours that we can execute a plan. We all have the same ability. Why are some making $250,000 a year and the other making $50,000?
Exactly. Why is that?
Why is it? Because we can't execute it. The issue
and
is
a coach,
performance.
you being a performance coach, I mean, one of my daughters is a personal trainer. She is a core coach. I mean, that woman puts guys through their paces, and they're asking for mercy at the end of every session. When you're talking about coaching, probably not as bad as that, but when you're talking about coaching, you identify this X factor we talked about in the first segment. And tell me that difference of how do you get a guy to see that? Here's the how-to, coach.
Well, first the thing I got to do, number one above all things, I have to discover them. You know what? Just because a guy hires me doesn't mean I don't have to sell him. And I have to sell them just like anybody else. I have to get to know them. I have to find out what's important to them. I have to discover their performance DNA, and then I have to leverage it.
So really, when we think about it, you have to do a discovery process that interviews your clientele, find out what this guy's made of or the lack thereof, and really start manage. So you customize these things.
Totally.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, we're going to have Rick on all this week, so you won't want to miss any of our sessions. We're going to touch all these areas of strategic coach, personal performance, and how to really become a major league closer. I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. Hey, that's the buzz on the biz for today. Get in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse and
All right, we're clear.
one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. You can contact Focus Alliance at focusalliance.com or 1-800-290-7226, extension 147.